Hello, and you're listening to the Book Was Better podcast, the podcast where we talk about the book of the film. I'm Luke.
I'm Sabrina.
And this week we're talking about Inside Out.
Hey you, put down the popcorn and turn on the light. It's gonna be alright, my friend. In the end, take my hand. Trust me, the book was better.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, pretty good.
We are going to get right into some characters' heads today.
Gonna have all the feels.
All the feels, it's an emotional episode, isn't it?
Yeah, not for people with no emotions.
No, that's right. Not for ghosts, not for robots. Zombies, another one. Do dogs have emotions?
Oh yeah, dogs definitely have emotions.
Okay. Actually, we see that in the film, don't we?
Yep.
What about...
I don't like the way the cats were depicted.
Very cat-ist?
I didn't think that was accurate. People just don't understand cats.
People who don't have cats as a prominent part of their life think of cats as evil, aloof, kind of demonic creatures that are selfish
can't be understood,
and arrogant and, don't want anything to do with people, but that's not my experience at all.
No, I agree.
I just think people aren't raising the cats right.
Or maybe also they don't make an effort to learn about cat body language, which isn't intrinsically the same as human body language. For example, I don't go and rub up against people when I like them much.
Why not?
Well, because I'm not a cat.
Because it's a societal thing?
Yeah, probably.
Do you find yourself suppressing the urge to do that sometimes?
Depends on the person.
Depends on the person.
Never happens with you.
Whoa, well, it's not all about me, Sabrina. Yeah. So, Inside Out, the Disney Pixar classic of just a year ago. And this is quite interesting. This is a rare sort of thing to do on The Book Was Better because we don't often do films that are this new. And also don't often do new films that I actually really like. Normally we're picking stuff that's a bit easy to poke fun at, but this is a film that I absolutely adore.
Yeah, I loved it as well. I cried, and I never cry. I'm like, I try to avoid crying ever, but Pixar's just one of those. They know how to tell a story, they know how to get you invested, and then they know how to rip those characters away.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They know how to tug at the old heartstrings and punch on me old feels button. Pulling all my levers.
Oh, God.
Cranking
my... Stop now.
Yes. So, I really want to say that, make no mistake, I absolutely love this film. I think it's a really well-crafted film. I was really surprised upon seeing it, just how packed full of ideas it is. Because you would think that... with the 5 emotions being inside the head, that it could be actually a quite confined and limited story, but it actually branches out and explores all these different aspects of the mind and memory and imagination, etc.
Yeah.
That I really loved that. But actually, you chose this one. What was your rationale for choosing it?
I just love the film, and it was one that I wouldn't mind revisiting, whereas, a really crap film, I might be like, I don't know if I ever want to watch the film or read the book.
You didn't enjoy Hotel for Dogs when we did that?
Actually, I did enjoy the movie. Yeah. Cars 2 was difficult.
Cars 2 was a tough one, wasn't it?
Cars 2 was a hard slog, and after that I didn't know whether I wanted to do any more podcasts.
Yeah.
Because it was such a bad movie.
Yeah, this is a far better Pixar outing. And I was very curious because you think... as much as I love the movie, you think, what a horrendous task to have to put this into prose, because it's so visual, and there are so many ideas, and there are so many internal rules, and the whole setup to the headquarters, and all the different islands and everything is actually, without the benefit of those visuals, tying it all together... how do you portray all that, especially to a younger audience? And this is a junior novelization.
Yep.
It's about 80 pages long, and that's a lot of information to pack in.
Yeah.
So I was really curious, how is this poor author going to make it all make sense? How are you even going to describe the emotions? What are they? Are they pixies? Are they? But what are they?
Well, I think they're actually meant to be. If you look closely in the movie, they're depicted with lots of tiny little bubbles. They kind of got this bubble-like surface appearance, and they're actually meant to represent sort of collections of energy. Almost, if you could think of, joy's made up of all these sort of joy particles. Yeah.
You nailed it. That's exactly what they're going to say in a minute in the book.
Oh.
So, yeah. So, the author that has to take this burden on, who's going to have the burden of Inside Out on her back, like Atlas with the globe, is Suzanne Francis. And she's the author of... Now, you thought Cars 2 was tough. She wrote Planes, Fire and Rescue.
What is that? Oh, that was a movie.
That was Planes, yeah. It was a spin-off from Cars.
Never ever watching that movie.
And instead of cars, they were planes.
Have you watched that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Well, what if I read the book and you just wing it?
No. Oh, God.
Hey?
No.
Huh? No, alright. And Zootopia. Have you seen the Zootopia?
No, but I really want to.
It's really
I've heard
good.
it's a yiffing good time.
It is, it made me very yiffy. Like a fox. So, yeah, definitely check that out. Alright, well, should we get straight into this and see what it's all about?
Alright.
Let's read the beginning. I've heard that's a very good place to start.
Yep. On the day Riley was born, Joy found herself inside a strange and beautiful place, Riley's mind. Joy, a glowing collection of yellow energy particles,
Nailed
was
it.
one of the new baby's emotions. From inside headquarters, which is inside the head, the control center of Riley's mind world...
Headquarters! I know, I get it!
Yeah, I only just got it just then, reading it.
Okay.
I was like, whoa. She saw everything through Riley's eyes. Joy stepped up to the console, a device the emotions used to control Riley's reactions and watched in awe as Riley's parents looked down at their beautiful daughter for the first time. "Hello, Riley," said Mum, beaming.
Nailed it again, yes. So, as I said, there are lots of rules to establish here. I do feel that, the fact that the characters in the movie have to consult thick manuals as to how everything operates.
Yep.
You almost need a manual to get us started. But I am quite impressed that Frances is able to sum up the basics straight away.
She's pretty good at summing up.
Yep. The headquarters, the what the emotions are, and what happens is all the joyful memories that Riley has, they turn into these glowing yellow balls, yellow like Joy herself, and they are stored on the memory shelves inside the mind. And then the new emotions start to materialize. But 33 seconds after Riley was born, someone else materialized at the console and started working the controls. Riley began to cry. "I'm Sadness," the blue newcomer said to Joy, introducing herself somberly. So that's two of our emotions.
All right.
Joy, Sadness. Then Fear is purple for some reason. You would think fear would be yellow, but I guess Joy got yellow.
Yeah. Purple is like sexual frustration.
Yeah.
But I guess that's related to fear.
Does it stem from fear?
Sure. Fear's job was to keep Riley safe. He guided her whenever she encountered something he thought was dangerous, like power cords, roller skates, and dogs.
And the very rare sighting of an electric dog on roller skates, one of the most terrifying things in the world. So do you think, I guess Prince, has he chosen purple because he's a very sexually frustrated man? Like, why else would you, do a Batman soundtrack, which was all about your cock? Or, sing things like Cream, Get on Top, or Hey Ducky, let me stick the 7-inch in the computer.
That doesn't sound like a song lyric.
That's from the Batman soundtrack.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which Batman?
The 1989 Batman that he did the soundtrack to.
Yeah, I have a very poor knowledge of pop culture in general, which is why you're here.
Okay, but you know about feels and emotions and the psychology here. Can you bring something to the table?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, well, we'll see. And here's my favourite emotion in the film.
Oh, look. Disgust was green. She kept her sharp eye out for anything that looked worthy of an ew. She took control whenever something gross came up, like broccoli, bad art, or nasty people. Basically, disgust kept Riley from being physically or socially poisoned.
Yes. Now, I know this is a summary, it's sort of a summarized version, but I was kind of hoping, just like great novelizations before this, we would find out whether or not the characters were hot.
Actually, there's no description of any of the characters' actual clothing or what they look like in
Just
here.
the colours. Yeah, no, exactly. Because they're pretty freakish. They don't
Yeah.
follow the same design rules completely. Like, some have noses, some don't have noses, some
my
have
God.
ears, some don't have ears.
One of them doesn't have a nose. I didn't even think about
anger,
that.
no
Wow.
nose. I don't think he has ears either.
I guess
He's just
angry
kind of a
people
blob.
don't need to smell, I guess.
Yeah, so it's that kind of philosophy of... The Smurfs book did this as well. It was like, oh, here came some blue Smurfs, and it's like, if you want to know more than that, look at the cover. Like, this is definitely designed as a companion to the film rather than a replacement for the film.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's actually a history of this. I've recently listened to the audiobook of Alice in Wonderland read by Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, of course.
And the Griffin shows up with the Mock Turtle. And Lewis Carroll, and this is back many a year ago, just totally lazily goes, if you don't know what a griffin is, look at the picture. He doesn't waste time describing it or
That's
whatever.
great.
He wrote that without there even being a picture, the arrogant son of a bitch. Someone then had to go and draw one. He didn't draw it.
Was that in the audiobook as well, then?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Imagine how I felt on the audiobook. Look at the picture. What the picture in my mind's eye, which is very lacking in
Which is
detail,
Scarlett
because you didn't
Johansson.
tell me anything. That's true. That's all I was thinking of. I was thinking of her with a lion. What does a griffin have? A
I
lion's
think they have wings.
paws,
Yeah.
and they've got eagle wings. They're like kind
a
of half
bird face.
half bird, half lion.
And a tail.
Yeah, lion's tail.
Yep.
Like back half lion,
See, we've already given more
back
description.
half lion, front half eagle. 6 words, and he could not be bothered. And the exact same thing is happening here. So yeah, no one describes whether or not disgust is hot, and I want to say, I find her really attractive. I don't know what it is, what it says about me. I offered you the chance to bring some psychology into this, but I discovered that disgust really turns me on.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, so there's 2 male emotions, so they're probably out. Sadness is not very attractive. She's, like, in terms of personality and her looks, she's very round and sad. And joy is annoying
Yeah.
for most of the film.
But then
So-
and then Riley's 11.
Well, yeah, exactly. I was just about to...
So are you suggesting a kind of, the Stockholm syndrome where you get attracted to your captors?
Yeah.
I feel that there's a sort of entertainment equivalent called the Cockholm syndrome where when you watch a movie or TV series, you latch on to one character because there has to be at least someone in there that you find attractive.
Have you mentioned this before?
And want to think about. Yeah, it's an ongoing theory of mine. You can read all about it
That's great.
in my book.
You should make a Wikipedia
The
page.
Cockholm syndrome.
Cockholm syndrome, popularised by comic Luke Milton.
So do you think that I have to find someone attractive in there, or I just think there's something about her, like she's got a bit of a retro look with the skirt and the little neckerchief thing happening, and
Oh,
she's
she's
got the
cute.
green hair, and I kind of like her round face and stuff. I think she's really pretty.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd say hot, but
I think she's
cute.
pretty filthy hot. And finally, the last one, we mentioned him briefly.
When the emotions saw unfair things happening to Riley as they watched out the view screen in headquarters, anger, who was short, red, and angry, took the reins. Life's injustices really heated him up.
They sure did. He even got the flames
Yeah, that's
come out of his head when he gets really angry. So, do you feel like they've got this covered? Are these all the emotions that we need? Is there anything that's missing in your opinion?
Well, I think it's fairly well rounded. I mean, humans are so complex, but I think they've done pretty well. I think that they based the emotions on this research done by a psychologist in America called Dr. Paul Ekman, and he identified up to 27 different emotions that you can measure and observe in a person. And they actually, if you Google it, there's lots of different sketches of different emotions that they tried out, like irritation and pride and all these different things, and it's quite fun to look at. But yeah, I think it did actually take them quite a while to nail down which ones they wanted to use, and some of them they actually removed because they felt the story didn't go very well with certain emotions in there.
Yeah, I thought I've been putting together a iBook at work about a very basic introduction to comics. and was looking at the 6 universal expressions, which, funnily enough, are happiness, sadness, fear, anger, disgust.
Oh, wow.
Which is why, because disgust, when you first hear these emotions,
like,
you
what?
think that's the
What?
curveball. Why is she in there? I think that's why she's in there. And the final one is surprise. And I think surprise is kind of handled in those other ones.
Well, it depends what kind of surprise. You could have an angry surprise or a sad surprise. Like, oh, your mom's dead.
Yeah. So, you can see how that works as a facial expression because it's quite a unique facial expression.
But in terms of an emotion.
Yeah. And then I think when you're putting in this idea of a young girl who's on the cusp of puberty, disgust seems to be something that kind of fits in there quite well.
Yeah.
So, I think there's definitely been a lot of thought put into this thing. And look, sorry, more things to learn. There will be an exam afterwards, so if everybody's got their notebooks out, write all this down. The brightest memories are core memories. So the core memories are brighter balls, and and they mark the really big milestones in Riley's life. And
the core memories powered the islands of personality with light lines, which were the electrical cords that stretched over a deep ravine from headquarters to the actual islands. The islands made Riley who she was, and they each said something different about her. For example, the core memory of Riley's first goal powered Hockey Island. There was also Goofball, Family, Honesty, and Friendship Islands. They were like mini theme parks.
Okay, so revision 1.1. Memories are coloured spheres that are coloured by the emotion they relate to. Regular memories are stored on shelves. I haven't turned my notifications off. Core memories it's somebody is very, very insistent right now. It's Jacinta. She's reading a Dawson's Creek book for Book Was Better TV. There's a little promo for something special that's coming up.
Is that like a different podcast series? Or?
That's for our Patreon listeners. I'm just turning off the notifications. But, that's a little plug, right? We're going to record that on Wednesday. So for the Patreon listeners, some Dawson's Creek coming your way.
That's cool.
What emotion does that press?
I wish I'd watched more of it. So, regret.
Regret, sadness.
Yeah.
Sadness would handle regret. Okay, there you go. And Dawson is often portrayed as being sad and crying, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes, regular memories are stored on shelves. Core memories power the personality islands, and disgust is filthy hot.
And sadness makes balls blue.
That's true. God, just got blower balls and Cookie Monster. So now Riley is 11 and moving to San Francisco with her parents, and she's not happy about a new home at all.
Yeah, actually watching the movie again and reading the book, I really feel that she's overreacting. But obviously that's for the movie. I don't know. Did you feel that way? Because being able to remove myself by watching the movie a second time, like the first time you're kind of in the emotions because you're watching it, but the second time I was like, I feel that she's being a bit of a brat.
I think she's 11 though. I think it's a big thing. We moved around a lot when I was young. And I know even when I remember being about 18 and moving into a share house sort of out of necessity.
Yep.
And that feeling, and it didn't last very long at all, but that feeling of just complete sort of loss. Like not fitting in, not knowing where I was at and not feeling like home, like feeling like I'd been put into an alien place.
Yeah.
And I think that's also part, you forget as well, like now, look at all this shit that I have. Like it's a house full of shit and wherever I am, it's going to look like my place. Whereas back then I had nothing. Like I had a couple of boxes of stuff. And
I guess when you're 18, you probably don't have that strong of a sense of identity.
Yeah.
So, adolescence is all about finding who you are and being, in addition to trying to find your identity, like, in yourself, you're also physically in an unfamiliar place.
Yeah, that's true. And you're all hormonal and stuff. I like the, in a way, I like the kind of softness of the start. I like that they didn't push for really big, this could have been a parent dying or something like that.
God,
could have had, they could have done really big emotions, but they kind of ease you into it, like seeing how these smaller bits of angst relate to what's happening in their head and how
they build.
these people trigger it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The book, meanwhile, doesn't have this feeling at all. Like, it really is written in shorthand. It's kind of like we're reading the minutes of a meeting about the movie.
Maybe that's all the author had to work off.
Possibly. Dialogue is often skipped and just replaced by a brief summary of what it was about. For example, Joy reminded everyone how cool Dad said Riley's new bedroom was and suggested they check it out. Excited, Riley hurried upstairs to see it. And also...
I read somewhere that an empty room is an opportunity, Joy said excitedly. She got everyone to imagine how great the room would look with all of Riley's stuff set up.
And no examples of this at all, whereas that's a nice bit of animation where they think about how the room might be laid out. So this is really just A to Z stuff, and it doesn't capture the feeling of the film. And it's a missed opportunity, I think. Why not do a 300-page adult novelization of this movie?
That would have been cool if it was done well.
Yeah, well, because I love that adult novelizations really allow us to get into the heads of the characters. So why not a book where we get into the head of the character of Riley,
and then in the head of Joy?
Head of the characters that live inside her head.
Like Headception.
Like a Russian doll, yes. We get all the secret inner thoughts of... her secret inner thoughts.
Oh my god, that would be awesome.
That would be wonderful.
That would be confusing for children. Because they were already confused with Inside Out, I feel. I got feedback from friends with kids and people with kids in cinemas, even the kids that were in my cinema when I saw it the first time. I felt that they were bored and they didn't understand the movie. Depends on the age, obviously, but the really young ones, I think the colours and everything weren't enough for a lot of the kids.
There's certainly some stuff later on, and it's going to even come into this book, which just goes so into a different level that you can absolutely see those things sailing over their heads. But at the same time, I think the visuals are actually really fun, and they keep, because they've got all this like imagination worlds and all these different ideas keep getting introduced. I think I was surprised at how much it visually refreshes, but you don't get that when reading the book.
Yeah.
So Joy hits a switch and Riley brightens up and has the idea to start hitting a ball of paper around with a hockey stick. And here's the other question that you and I, as distinguished adults, can ask. My feeling is that Joy is just giving her a joy buzz. She's basically going, feel happy now, and pressing the button.
That's a good button.
Yeah.
Press that button.
Press that button a lot. Trace the alphabet on that button. And then she has the idea herself, rather than Joy incepting the idea of paper hockey. Because then Riley would be this empty shell being puppeted by her emotions. But later on we see an idea actually being planted, which is the big light bulb.
Yep.
So I don't think they're sort of doing that. I think they just bring... It's like when sadness starts to meddle with the joy emotions later. She makes her remember the touch of sadness. So I think it's more an impulse. It's like an impulse firing that gives you a sudden feeling of sadness, and then you relate it to your situation. Oh, my leg is cramped up.
You should dance on it.
Oh, I am. I'm gonna just stand on it. I would stop it. No, I think that's good. And look, this would not be an American story without an early appearance by one of the 3 foods that Americans eat.
Oh man, I'm so hungry.
Do you want to take a guess at which food it is?
Well, I know.
You know?
Yeah, it's...
Okay.
I read the...
Well, just read the thing then.
Joy yanked a memory sphere off the wall and played it, revealing a pizza shop Riley had noticed earlier when they were all in the car. Hey, I saw a pizza place down the street, Riley said to Mom. Maybe we could try that?
Pizza sounds delicious, Mom said. So, here is a book that is skipping a lot of funny dialogue but takes the time to have a discussion about how delicious pizza is. So, remember what we've learned so far, kids, thanks to Disney. Broccoli is gross, but pizza is delicious.
It is delicious, though.
It is true.
But I also love broccoli.
I like broccoli as well.
I don't know about broccoli on pizza.
It would really depend. I think there are definitely places that could pull it off, but you would need a pretty... Lots of other flavours in there as well. We've talked about burger statistics before on the show, and I've realised now that a new menace is emerging, and that is Pizzaganda. this sort of, elevation of pizza. And I love pizza too, but this sort of elevation of pizza and hamburgers and hot dogs above all else. It's kind of crazy. And then just when I was ranting about this in the notes, turn the page and it gets far worse.
What the heck is that? Shouted Fear as he watched Riley and his mother standing at the pizza counter staring at a slice covered in broccoli.
That's it, I'm done, said Disgust.
Anger fumed. Congratulations, San Francisco, you've ruined pizza. First the Hawaiians and now you, he shouted, shuddering as he thought about the pineapple that Hawaiians like to add to their pizza.
I put this down, I thought it was topical because I've heard, or was it tropical? I've heard quite a few Americans on podcasts lately talking about how disgusted they are by the idea of pineapple on a pizza, which is crazy to us in Australia because
it's a classic.
It's just naturalised. It's just one of those things. Like, it's not on all pizzas,
favourite.
But the Hawaiian pizza is very popular.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand. Is it just because it's a fruit and they're just naturally adverse to fruit and vegetables?
Well, maybe, but I think it might be because people don't like sweet things with savoury. Some people don't like to mix sweet and savoury together.
Yeah.
And it's like beetroot and burgers. Some people don't like that.
No,
either.
but I don't know if that's what it is in America because they have, it's something I had as well when I was there. There's a lot of breakfasty stuff at places like Denny's and IHOP and things like that, which have pancakes and maple syrup with sausages.
Well, I like that and I don't like Hawaiian. I don't know, who knows? People are weird.
Yeah. They have, like, a child's palate, these adults.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you're like everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
It's like they've tried to... Don't try and be reasonable about my rant.
Well, Hawaiian pizza is actually not from Hawaii.
No? Where is it from?
From Canada. Apparently the earliest recorded Hawaiian pizza was from a place called Satellite Restaurant in Chatham, Ontario.
And here we are chatting about ham.
Yum, I'm
in
hungry
Perth,
now.
Western Australia. I know, me too.
Hungry.
Should we just fuck this off and go and eat something? Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Catch you on the
flip.
Flippin' burgers.
Jumanji.
Yeah, you've really done the research here.
Not really.
I'm very impressed. Well, there's been 2 facts you've spun
That's
out.
the only thing. I'm not funny, so I've got to.
That's more than some hosts. I'm not funny either. It's episode 163. We're just
you are funny.
Doing this for the sake of it.
How did your comic night go? Where you read out the comics?
It was interesting. I was a bit beery. I was able to perform. I don't know. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, that's tangential to this, but
Luke loves talking about himself.
What it made me realise was because it was Bunnies That Hate Work from about 10 years ago. It was a 24-hour comic, and it's rude and it's sweary and it's kind of almost like deliberately alienating the audience, which I guess is still a persona that I keep going to. Like, just me now making fun of Americans. Of course, the Americans are our good friends. They're very kind to the podcast and everything.
You like the pop culture they generate.
And I want to, yeah, absolutely. And I kind of, still want to keep pushing and poking and trying to get that reaction.
Yep.
Which I don't know what stems from that. But what I realised looking at the other work is there are people just doing really beautiful, sort of meaningful things. And I don't know if that has that sort of instant kind of grab you attention, entertainment value necessarily.
Okay.
But there was something about it where I sort of finished and I thought, what the fuck am I doing? Like, have I really produced anything of value, or am I like a baby going, look, I made a poopy, like, all the time? You know what I mean? It was like, it was hard to gauge the response. I mean, it wasn't a massive room. I think people were sort of laughing and smiling and stuff, and, but then you go, but is it easy to make people laugh when you're just doing that sort of base stuff, or is there more to it? I don't know.
Yeah, but at least you made people laugh.
It made me think. It made me think maybe I should, if I was going to do more comic stuff, what would I do? What would I tell? And it's the same with why I've kind of quit theatre as well, and I haven't written or directed any shows. It's like I kind of don't want to be doing what I was doing, and it's like, well, what do I have to say? What do I want to put out there in the world? And look, there's plenty of people putting stuff out in the world without worrying about that. They're just putting out all sorts of shit. But I don't know if I...
Yeah, well, I feel the same about my photography.
Want to, yeah?
Like, I'm just like, well, why am I shooting pictures of other people's cats? Like, who gives a shit? Like,
Do you,
know?
do you enjoy it, or do you feel like you're on auto?
Yeah, I think I enjoyed the first few, but now it's just like, I love my own cats, but other people's cats,
But is it
I don't know.
one of those things where, like, I don't know, I find that with photography, sometimes I can get a bit jaded, but then suddenly something happens and it just clicks and you're like, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing it. Because I'm really getting a kick out of it. It's all better than, I guess, sitting at home doing nothing, right?
Well, I think sometimes you just got to create and then just create through the... Because if you wait till you're inspired, sometimes it's better to make stuff and then see what you like at the end of it rather than not create anything and wait till you have inspiration, because sometimes the inspiration comes from looking back at your work and seeing what you enjoyed the most and getting direction from that.
I agree. You can't wait for that perfect storm.
That's what I'm trying to do anyway, but I am sort of the kind of person that waits.
Yeah. And then I think that's why it's good to have the podcast, because it's so low stakes, and that's why I'm happy for us to have this conversation.
You're creating.
Right now, because we're creating, and like, yeah, you just got to put it out there. The minute you start second guessing it and thinking, well, was this relevant to the podcast? Should we be talking about this? Then you don't have 163 episodes.
No, like
you
you
just
have
got to
five
go. Whatever we have now is what goes out, and then what happens. Even that, like, remember that hilarious bit when I got a cramp in my leg? That's in here. Remember when all my notifications went off?
I remember the first episode I did, I was like, Luke's going to edit all of this crap out. And then
I don't anymore. I get lazier and lazier as I go.
Well, that's reasonable.
Last week's with Callum,
you don't want to make it a
I
task.
just totally raw dogged it.
Raw dogged?
Yeah, barely.
That's a very disturbing term.
Yeah, probably not the technical term I'm looking for. Because that's probably not a real editing term. But yeah, it's raw dogged it. Okay, so the stakes are high. They're already high because Riley's moving house and she's feeling upset. They get higher when sadness touches a yellow orb and infects it with her sadness. And then she touches a core memory from Goofball Island, which powers out for a second. And really just won't stop touching stuff. It's particularly evident in the film, and I love that in the film, where especially when she's getting dragged around and she's just touching all those balls on the bottom shelf.
I kind of love sadness. She's kind of irritating at the beginning, but then you grow to love her more.
She's a cool character.
Sadness... Oh, so we'll go back to the book.
Yes. This is an excerpt from the book now.
Sadness felt terrible. I'm sorry, she said. Something's wrong with me. It's like I'm having a breakdown.
This is getting heavy.
Yeah.
And I like this, the idea of a character in this animated kids film having a breakdown.
Of course it's sadness.
Yeah, and then...
it would be sadness or fear.
And then Riley, of course, as a result of this, ends up sort of shutting down. And I like the idea that you have this big problem, which is an internal problem, not an external problem, because movies are all about external problems for the most part, especially animation. Here are a couple of more concepts to wrap your mind around. Joy is in control of Riley's dreams for the night. Now, I think you've got to really think about these emotions as, like, if you're out there and you're young and you're going, how does all this work? You've got to remember all these people are really employees, right? It's true, kind of, because you've got the mind keeper, sweeper people, and you've got the people that are in dream production and stuff like that. And I feel like these emotions are our kind of superstars who, I'm in charge of joy, I'm in charge of disgust. It doesn't mean that's all they feel, because you will see joy get scared, or you'll see joy get excited, or a little bit sad or discouraged or whatever. But her job is to keep the joy going.
Oh, that makes sense.
And now her job is also to be on watch and keep the dream. So they're like the rock stars of the head.
Yeah, but they also work really long shifts. They kind of act like, the dream shift. Oh. Yeah, it's like real life.
What's on tonight, Dream Productions? Joy couldn't wait to see what the movie studio in Riley's mind world came up with for the evening. The dream began with Riley's family happily flying through the sky in their car. Then the car landed in front of a frightening haunted house with a mouse ghost. The mouse looked like a zombie as it eerily said, "Come live with me, Riley." Then it keeled over and died. That's a kind of like, I just ate a whole lot of cheese before bed dream. That's
cheese dreams.
Frightening.
I'd love to have dreams like that. I love creepy dreams.
Does creepy dreams scare you?
I'm kind of both scared and exhilarated at the same time. Like, I have dreams. I had a dream of zombie apocalypse, and I ended up hitting someone on the head with a heavy book until they died, and then pushed them out the window. And I woke up and I thought, That was really cool.
Yeah.
But disturbing. But cool.
I have very vivid dreams, especially being on anti-anxiety medication, and I think that as part of that as well is I'm not actually scared by the things in the dreams, or I used to be. I used to have dreams, and if there was something sort of supernatural or frightening or murderous, I could be quite panicked. I still have the odd nightmare, but I also have dreams that almost feel like video games, where I go, oh yeah, like here's this creature or whatever, but I'm not worried about it. I'm going to go and sort it out with my manly dream fists. More things to think about here on the first day of school.
As Joy continued to prepare the headquarters, the train of thought chugged by and dropped off a bag. Right on schedule, said Joy, smiling. Anger, unload the daydreams. I ordered extra just in case things get slow in class. Might come in handy if this school is full of boring, useless classes, which it probably will be, Angus said as he walked toward the bag.
See, nor would it be an American book if it wasn't anti-education. So classes are dumb, as we've learnt from all American films. School is pretty much for basketball, cheerleading, and eating pizza in that cafeteria.
That's a school I can get behind.
Oh, yeah.
I really love pizza. I had it for dinner last night. I'm still thinking about it. It's so good.
I kind of want pizza tonight now.
I'm on this 5-2 diet. I can't eat more than 500 calories today. One slice of pizza is like already my whole day's allowance.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
One slice.
Yeah.
That sucks. Alright, I'm going to summarize what happens next. Riley tells the class who she is, and sadness during this touches a core memory and turns it blue. And Riley suddenly starts to feel very sad. She cries in class, and then all hell breaks loose.
Hey, stop it, Joy said. As the two struggled over the bright blue sphere, they bumped into the core memory holder and all the core memories fell out. Fear, anger, and disgust screamed as the islands of personality went dark.
So this part of her personality has been extinguished. What have you thought about? What would your islands of personality be?
I was having to think about it, and I think it's kind of easy to just say, oh, these are the things I'm interested in, or these are major parts of my life. But if they're really based on your early memories, like those formative experiences, I think one of them would definitely be the island of Shake Well. So that sounds really wrong. But so when I was 7, I had those barbecue sauce bottles.
Yes.
And it says shake well before use.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I'll shake it well. And I was shaking it and shaking it, and I kept shaking it. And eventually went all over this really pretty turquoise blue dress I was wearing with like little ballet slippers embroidered. It was just all over my dress, all over my hands and face. And I went and hid under a table until my mom found me. And she was like, why did you do that? And I said, it said shake well.
That's funny you say that. I had a similar experience. I was 7, and I remember having flavoured milk.
Oh, yeah?
And it said something like shake well.
Oh, yeah, they always say shake well.
I started shaking it and shaking it. And then I looked at the calendar and I was 8. So I was 7 at the beginning of the story.
Wait, I don't understand.
So a year had passed. I'd been shaking it for a year. It was a joke.
I don't understand the joke.
Because I was shaking it like for a very long time because I thought I had to shake well. And I was 7, and then
but why would
when
you
I
shake it
finished,
for a year? I don't understand
because
your joke.
I wanted to do it really well. So I shook it for a long time.
I didn't think that was a good joke.
I'm
gonna get pizza.
So I can't just say like Star Wars Island or...
Well, that's kind of lame. I mean, obviously, but...
It's not lame, it's awesome.
I don't know about your Star Wars Island.
But I would have a Star Wars Island because it's been a really big part. She's got a hockey island. You saying she can have a hockey island and I can't have a Star Wars Island?
You agree?
Boring to you.
Hockey Island's boring.
Hockey Island's boring to me, but it's not to her. It's part of her life. I could have a ScarJo, a Go-Go Island.
Yeah, you'd have a ScarJo Island, and a Ray Island, and a Jubilee Island.
I don't know about a Jubilee Island. Although, could provide fireworks for the other islands.
Yes!
That'd be pretty good.
At night times.
Then Joy and Sadness, they get sucked up with the memory into a vacuum tube and leave the sanctity of the headquarters for the first time. It's heading off to long-term memory where memories get stored forever. And Riley, of course, can now no longer be happy without Joy in the headquarters because it is Joy's job to press that Joy button.
And
without that impulse coming through... I just don't think they touch each other's stuff.
Yeah.
You know? It's just like you never see... I was going to say you never see Han Solo use Luke's lightsaber, but he does because he cuts open the Tauntaun. But that was an emergency. So when you don't generally touch
Maybe they just don't know how it works.
touch each other. Yeah, exactly.
Because Joy usually takes control of the whole console. Like,
Yeah, well, they don't understand joy like she understands joy. They're not, wired that way. And then suddenly we start entering other characters' heads, and the book really doesn't waste any time setting this up. And again, such a hard thing to get across in a book because it's so visual.
inside Mum's headquarters, her emotions were scrambling to assess the situation. Did you guys picked up on that? Mum's sadness asked. Her other emotions nodded. Let's probe, Mum's sadness said, but keep it subtle so she doesn't notice.
And thus began the subtle probing inside Mom. What about Inside Mom? Is that a good name for the sequel?
Yeah, that'd be... That's pretty good, actually.
Inside Mom. I'd go and see that. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Because Mum's emotions are all female and Dad's emotions are all male, even though it's kind of like disgust with a moustache.
Yeah.
But Riley's are a mix.
I mean, obviously that doesn't really make sense, but I guess they just did it for visual impact.
I think
So
it's
you can
because
understand whose head you're in.
I think it's because she hasn't got her boobies yet, so she's kind of in the middle.
Oh, so you think they all kind of go through a...
Puberty stage, yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting theory.
So she's unformed at this point.
Unformed.
I guess she's like a Barbie doll, but without
They've
the
got
boobies.
boobs. They just
It's
don't
like a
have
baby doll.
Yeah.
A baby Barbie doll.
A bab doll.
A Skipper.
Is that like a fish?
Wasn't Skipper? No, Skipper's like Barbie's little sister, right?
Oh, really? I did
think
not
so.
know that.
It wasn't
No
like
knowledge
the
of pop
80s or
culture.
something.
Yeah, it was before my time.
Probably, yeah. And then,
man.
with even less fanfare, we are suddenly deep inside Dad, which is the third film
That's
to,
a great...
to
You're good at this.
wrap up the
You
trilogy.
should name films.
Yes,
Porn films, probably.
deep inside Dad. Mom tried to signal Dad, but inside his headquarters, his emotions were busy watching a hockey match. Finally, Mom's signal worked. Uh-oh, Dad's anger said. She's looking at us. He clicked off the hockey game and tried to pay attention. Something I learnt in both the book and the film is Dad is a man who is not to be fucked with.
Why?
Well, this is why.
Oh, okay. Like a soldier, Dad's fear reported high levels of sass, and his emotions took it to DEFCON 2, the highest level of alert before things got really bad. The siren inside Dad's headquarters blared, and his emotions prepared to put the foot down.
Down her throat, disturbingly. Yeah.
Wait, I don't get it.
It was pretty rough.
I don't get that. What do you mean?
He like kicked her in the throat.
That didn't happen.
Well, what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Commando. So Dad later tries to make amends by acting like a crazy monkey. You know, I'm a big fan of those. But Riley is not moved. And inside her head, Goofball Island crumbles to nothing. That part of her personality has disappeared. Now, this next idea in the film, I absolutely love. The mind workers. And as I said, everybody's got a role. It's like a workplace. Are cleaning up the long-term memory.
Look at this, said the first worker, pointing out some memory spheres. 4 years of piano lessons.
Yeah, it looks pretty faded, said the other worker, assessing them.
You know what? The first worker said. Save chopsticks and heart and soul and get rid of the rest.
I love this sort of whole visual metaphor of how your mind works and what you keep and what you don't, and the
Yeah, it's so
idea
true.
that someone would be going through going, yeah, we don't need this anymore.
Yeah, because there is limited space.
Yes.
I always feel like there's limit. You know, people always joke about, oh, I learned this and I forgot that.
Yeah. And then they've got this great idea as well of there's the memory of the gum commercial, which is
Oh,
the
I
one
love
memory that won't fade, and they like sending it up to headquarters
just
so
for
that
laughs.
it just goes into her head suddenly. And all the useless shit that you don't need to remember anymore gets sent to the memory dump. And I'm pretty sure my memory dump is absolutely littered with the Book Was Better episodes.
You wouldn't remember.
We went to Book Exchange the other day to find some books, and I'm looking at some of them and going, I got no idea if we've done this or not. I can't remember. Sometimes I have to look it up, yeah. So Riley's friend from back home, they have a conversation, and her friend basically tells her how awesome her replacement is in their hockey team, and now Friendship Island crumbles as well.
Joy looked down at the friendship core memory in her arms. It was fading. Inside the memory sphere, she could see the faint image of little Riley and Meg skipping over cracks in the sidewalk, laughing and having fun. Joy watched as the broken island completely sank into the darkness below.
So don't you like this, though? Like, you sort of touched on this earlier about how, is it an overreaction? Some of these things are reasonably small.
Yeah.
But the way that this very personal, small interaction with a friend on the phone, it's not a life and death situation or anything, is so meaningful to this 11-year-old. And we see this, destruction movie kind of visual to accompany it. I really like that.
Yeah. I guess it's true of real life. Sometimes little things can seriously affect people.
Yeah. And I like this idea of the emotion and things sort of being sucked out of her in a way, like she becomes more and more of an empty shell as she goes. And that's what I felt was really sad. That was more sad than her having fits or getting all angry or whatever. It was just that this lively little girl
Just
had
blank.
become this blank slate. Yeah. Now, they see a weird elephant guy who is in the long-term memory, grabbing up memories.
Always my favourite. He was a strange-looking pink creature with a long trunk, whiskers, and a fluffy striped tail. He wore a checkered coat that was too small for his body, and he had a tiny hat perched on top of his head.
He is Riley's old imaginary friend, Bing Bong. Have you ever had an imaginary friend?
That was a lot of description about his...
Yeah,
about his
he
appearance.
did actually. He's the only one whose appearance is described.
They should have
pretty
just
much.
been like a pink elephant man who looked weird. That would be what I was
On
expecting.
par. He was
Yeah.
pink. If you want to know more, Google it. There you go. It's not even look at the picture anymore. It's just Google it.
Yeah, but no, I never had an imaginary friend. I was thinking about this when I was watching the movie the second time. I feel like maybe the kids that have imaginary friends are ones that either have really rubbish siblings or are only children.
Well, I was an only child till I was about 14. I didn't have an imaginary friend, but I certainly was very invested in imaginary worlds. Like, I would draw all the time and draw lots of crazy things that I felt very attuned to.
That sounds
And
cool.
I would play with toys all the time, and that sort of play acting kind of playing with toys, like, getting out all the Masters of the Universe and making up stories and doing stuff. So, yeah. I don't know how much kids play like that anymore.
Yeah, I think people have... I don't think the sort of kids with iPads is a good thing. Like, I think it's good to give them limited screen. Anyway, we're getting into parenting discussions,
Yeah.
which I'm sure people would get very
Let's
angry.
tell everyone how to raise their damn,
I don't even have a
their
kid.
damn full kids.
Look, I know it's easy to just put a kid in front of a television or an iPad, but I think it's not good in a variety of ways. I don't know if I should go into it.
What if you as a parent wore like a cardboard iPad screen around your head in order to get attention?
I don't think that would work. I think kids are a bit smarter than that.
iDad.
iDad!
log on to iDad and see what he has to say.
Yeah, yep.
So, Bing Bong, he decides to help these sadness and joy by getting them onto the train of thought, which travels through the whole mindscape. But first they take a shortcut through the very dangerous abstract thought building.
Oh, it's my favourite.
Yeah, me too. Definitely favourite part of the film. And I was just thinking, like, God knows how they are going to portray this in prose. Joy... What? Oh, okay. Joy and sadness screamed as they took in the side of Bing Bong's head. It had transformed into a misshapen mess and made him look like a multifaceted figure from a Picasso painting. His trunk looked like a jagged staircase, and one of his eyes moved over the now flat side of his head. So
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. However, bear in mind this has been a very simple, aiming quite young junior novelization. And in order to describe what happens, she has had to go, say, multifaceted figure from a Picasso.
You mentioned Picasso
And
directly.
multifaceted.
Is that a word a kid would even understand?
Probably not one they're overly familiar with, particularly in certain less educated parts of the world, America.
I don't know what to say about that.
Look, they have great classes in pudding, though, I'm sure.
Or pizza.
Pizza 101. And then this happens.
We're abstracting! Screamed Sadness. Her mouth moved to where her right ear used to be, and her eyes were stacked on top of each other. There are 4 stages. This is the first. Non-objective fragmentation.
So yes, the first junior novelization to switch to university level halfway through.
I actually had to look that up.
Non-objective fragmentation.
I've forgotten what it means already.
See, look at our education
Beyond
system.
us.
Yeah. Pop, they changed again. Now they were shapeless blobs of colour like lumps of clay. Oh no, we're non-figurative, said Sadness. This is the last stage. So yeah, I definitely can see how this would sail over some heads. But that said, it is a beautiful piece of animation when all of this happens.
Yeah, and it's so cute.
When they become just basically little shapes. But they do escape, but they return to normal, and they take a detour through Imagination Land. And what's the first thing that they see? Can you, listener, guess what an American might imagine? If they could think of anything in the world, this is what they might come up with.
There's French fry forest. No way. Joy's eyes grew wide. Ass. Joy's eyes grew wide as she looked at the small area filled with giant French fries.
I did write wide ass, which... is
that on purpose?
It's a bit of a Freudian slip when we're talking about the French fry forest, isn't it?
Ah.
Yeah. Here's a treat, though. What about this guy?
Bing Bong stopped and pointed to a handsome teenage boy leaning against a wall, striking a pose. A worker passing by answered, imaginary boyfriend.
I would die for Riley, said imaginary boyfriend in a dramatic, raspy voice.
Oh, gah, said Joy, curling her lip in disgust.
See, why would Joy be disgusted here? And that's the thing. Like I said, I think they are doing roles.
Yeah.
And I think they are experts in their emotion. But when you have them feeling an emotion which is directly one of the other characters, it does jump out to you in text as feeling strange.
Yeah, it actually jumps out more in the text.
Yeah, that Joy would be disgusted.
I didn't even stop and think about that in the movie.
Because I would think Joy sees the positive side in everything. I don't understand that reaction as it's written here in the book. I would think that a handsome boy would definitely be tingling her Joy button. All over that Joy button.
Like an alphabet.
Assuming he could find that Joy button to begin with. And then I thought, I'd quite like to curl my lip in disgust.
Ew. I didn't even realise you'd written that. Oh.
In the real...
I didn't get that when I saw... Oh.
In the real world, hockey tryouts go bad and Hockey Island crumbles. I feel like we can survive without that one. Yeah?
That's the lame one.
That's our consensus.
Who gives a shit about sports?
Fuck you, Hockey Island. And Riley goes home and sleeps and is thinking about running away back to Minnesota and her old friends. And meanwhile...
Joy, Sadness and Bing Bong hopped off the train and quickly made their way over to Dream Productions. The busy studio was full of action and excitement. Actors in all kinds of costumes walked around sipping coffee and carrying scripts. Grips pushed rolling sets and golf carts zipped from stage to stage. That was a mouthful.
Sure was. I love this idea in the film as well, that... So the dreams are sort of performed on stage and there's a distortion or a reality distortion filter, which makes whatever's on stage look real for the dreamer. And this idea of Joy and Sadness, they put on a dog costume because they know Riley likes dogs and they want to excite her and wake her up. But this is what actually happens. Bing Bong danced around off stage and knocked into a light, causing the backdrop to come down. Then the dog costume ripped in half. Joy chased after Sadness on the set. Sadness, what are you doing? Come back here. Fear spit out his tea as he watched the startling sight on screen. Through the reality distortion filter, it looked just like a real dog split down the middle.
It's one of my favourite parts of the film.
That was all very cool. I think this is the other tough thing that the book has is... you are actually going back and forth between the real world where Riley is, the headquarters where fear, disgust, and anger are, and then the larger dreamscape where joy and sadness are. And it's sort of going back and forth to each of those within a sentence.
Yeah. Without
really being able to establish them in the same way. They're so visually distinct when you're watching the film that you're always aware of where you are. But
I think if I'd read the book before the film, I would have been confused.
Yeah, I don't think it works at all. I think it's... But then I don't want to be... I'm softening up in my old age. I don't want to be too negative about something like this because it really, as you said, there's no way it operates outside the film. It really is a companion. It really is
very visual.
Here's a kid who likes the movie, and that's going to entice them to read this book. And at least they're reading.
Yeah.
And they're going to pick up some words like non-fragmentative obfuscation. So, look, they get caught by security, they get sent down into the dark, scary subconscious, and this is where they keep all of Riley's darkest fears, like Grandma's vacuum cleaner and...
Joy looked down to see where Bing Bong was pointing. The balloon cage was sitting right on top of a gigantic sleeping clown. It's Jangles, Joy said, terrified.
What's your verdict on clowns? You a clown fan?
I don't think I have an opinion on clowns.
Really?
What's your opinion on
I feel like
clowns?
everybody's got an opinion on clowns. I think they're pretty terrifying. There's something really... I don't mean like supernatural creepy. I mean like creepy.
Like pedophile creepy?
Yeah, kind of. Or not even like necessarily pedophile, because I think that's too easy to sort of jump on that wagon. But I think more like kind of something sad and kind of pathetic about it. Like being a clown. I think that's... now just saying that, I feel like that's really prejudiced, because I'm actually thinking that I don't really have an idea of like modern clowning. You know what I mean?
Well,
like I'm probably thinking of some kind of like twisted 70s circus thing.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Like a
Because it's just yeah. No, well, that's the thing. I think when you actually think of clowns now, you're probably looking at people who are actually very talented, versatile performers.
Well, sometimes they're just people who just do on the weekends.
They're not like the sad birthday clown, you know. Because I caught myself while I was saying it, I was thinking, well, I think I know some performers who are like young, talented people who do this sort of stuff and actually are real, like, talented performers and chameleons.
Yeah.
And do these really, like, funny, over-the-top characters. But, yeah, that idea of, it's the man, isn't it? It's like that middle-aged kind of big man that sort of... you like, ooh, what's his deal? And I think it's, like, particularly scary when there are... clown families.
I've never seen that before. Like in person.
Well, I've seen like look on the internet and you'll see pictures of like husbands and wives and their kids and they're all in clown makeup.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, that's weird.
That is weird.
Like clown families.
That's why would you?
Well, there has to be clown families. Where would clowns come from? Think about it. So, look, this is nowhere near as scary in the book. They all arc up Jangles and get him to crash the dream in an attempt to wake up Riley. So basically give her a nightmare to wake her up.
Inside headquarters, Fear had nearly fallen asleep watching the boring unicorn dream when, blam, the creepy clown came crashing through the set. Who's the birthday girl? Jangles' voice boomed across the stage.
But what do you think's worse, a creepy clown or a sexy clown?
I think if it was a really unattractive middle-aged man that was partially naked, a sexy clown would be pretty scary.
Yeah, I think clown...
I think it would be creepy as well.
Yeah, so kind of both.
Creepy kind of encapsulates.
You
can't have a sexy clown, unless it's like a female clown. Young, virile.
Kind of see what you're saying. It's like a creepy clown is not necessarily a sexy clown, but chances are that a sexy clown it was also a creepy clown.
Yeah.
So...
yeah.
Is there a Venn diagram or something?
Yeah, so sexy clown would be a subset of creepy clown.
There, yeah.
And there'd be other types of clowns that are creepy but not sexy.
Oh, yeah. Like serial killer clowns.
Yeah.
Now, I do not want to alarm you, but we're about to lose another island. Another island is crashing down.
Oh, no.
Riley wakes up. She steals money from Mom's purse in order to get money for a bus ticket back to Minnesota. And Honesty Island crumbles.
No.
So, desperate times call for desperate measures. Joy tries to get recalled to headquarters, but her and Bing Bong and Sadness, they all end up in the memory dump, discarded. Things look very grim, but they use Bing Bong's rocket wagon thingo to get out of there.
Bing Bong's eyes lit up as he understood the plan, and he joined her in song. As the melody drifted across the dump, off in the distance, Bing Bong's rocket answered back by binging and bonging.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever binged and bonged?
Oh, yep. Done a bit of that.
Done a bit of that in my time.
A bit of binging.
A bit of a bing bonger. And the wagon, though, is too heavy to make it out, and Bing Bong ends up making a very noble sacrifice, which is sad as all shit in the film, but completely brushed over here in the book. Like I
find that really unfortunate because that was one of my favourite parts. It was so sad.
It's such a definitive moment.
And his arm starts disappearing, and then
like Marty McFly.
he was just such a cheerful lad. He took us to the abstraction chamber.
And here is, this imaginary character sacrificing himself in order for her to move forward. Letting go of a part of the childhood. But instead we get...
Joy hurried to the edge and looked over the side. Bing Bong was down at the bottom, laughing and dancing. "Ya-ha-ha," he sang. "You made it! Ha-ha! Go! Go save Riley! Take her to the moon for me, okay?" Bing Bong waved and vanished. "I'll try, Bing Bong," Joy said, hanging her head. "I promise."
That's it.
It's not really sad.
You could be squeezing that all day, wringing it like a bit of wet washing, and I don't think you'd get much emotion dripping out of it.
Yeah, I think if I hadn't watched the film and I was thinking about the scene, I wouldn't feel sad at all.
I think waved and vanished as in he went, "Okay, I'll be seeing you." And he went back off to the French fry forest to stuff his fat face with fries.
That sounds really good, actually. I'm hungry.
Yeah, yes, you're making me hungry now. I didn't eat much today. I had a very busy
Maybe you're
work
doing
day.
a 5-2 diet as well. It's really good.
Yeah. Whoa, hang on, what's this bit about?
When Riley's parents came home, they were surprised to find she wasn't there. "I'll call her Cell," said Mom.
They keep her locked in a cell? They're monsters, these parents.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah. Like Harry Potter, this kid. So, yes, we're nearly at the end. Riley's boarding the bus. Sadness wants to be left in long-term memory. The console has gone black. It is impossible for the emotions to make Riley feel anything anymore. But then suddenly, sadness and joy, they return at the last minute. And it is sadness that removes the idea from Riley's head. I talked about that before, the light bulb. Mm-hmm. This idea of leaving home is the time when they're actually putting an idea into her head. But otherwise, they're just giving her emotions, and they coax her to return home, and...
The emotions watched on the screen as Riley smiled through her tears and her parents hugged her tightly. Joy and sadness, standing side by side at the console, shared a smile. They were a team.
The A-team? Or A-team?
Did I say they a team?
No, I was just thinking about it, because I love it when a plan comes together.
A sudden ding sounded throughout headquarters as a new cool memory was made. This one was gold and blue swirled together. A first. Joy and sadness placed it in the cool memory holder and watched as new Family Island arose, bigger and better than the last.
So what you're telling me is that in our lives, and this is what Joy doesn't understand at the beginning, because Joy thinks it's about everyone being happy all the time. Mm-hmm. Bam, 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 pressing your joy button all day long.
It's not good for you.
Binging and bonging. And then, but you need highs and lows. Yeah. And sadness can bring us back together, and some sad memories are still important memories.
And I think also it's more obvious in the film. I think having Riley show vulnerability through sadness was actually the key to getting her parents to, give her what she needed.
Yes,
which is the reassurance. Sadness
was the key. It's the movie, at the beginning, you think, this is all about joy. This is all about feeling good. Make me feel good, universe. And then we go, no, but sometimes you get a little bit salty down the old cheeks. That's important too. And this ball that came out of it was the perfect mix between happiness and sadness. It was like a big bittersweet gobstopper, and it was going to, help her go to that next stage.
Rebuild Family Island.
Of a new life, yeah. So kind of like you don't have comedy without tragedy.
Yeah, I think without the lows, you can't really appreciate the highs. If you were just happy all the time, it's like a relative thing.
Can't have cats without dogs, and you can't have hot dogs without fries.
Without hot cats.
And cats up.
Go.
So, Riley then meets a boy. No, yes. Oh, actually, before that, before she meets the boy, just imagine I hadn't skipped a section of the notes here. Because this is all about using your imagination. That's foreshadowing the bit about meeting the boy. Imagine if she met a boy. I wonder how that would go down. But anyway, first, everything's being rebuilt. There's new additions like Tragic Vampire Romance Island and Boy Band Island. And just
fun.
So many great ideas here. I like these ideas as well. This is funny in the film.
Disgust eyes one of the new buttons. "Hey guys, what's puberty?" she asked, reading the word on the button. Fear and sadness shrugged as anger checked out some new additions. "Whoa," he said, "I have access to the entire curse word library."
Oh, I just wanted him to start hammering at some of those buttons.
C word.
C word, yep. Bam, 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 bam. And then, oh God, can you believe Riley meets a boy?
Oh my God.
Did not see that coming. Riley walked towards the ice and accidentally bumped into a teenage boy, causing him to drop his drink. She picked it up and handed it to him. Sorry, she said, smiling. Inside the boy's mind, a warning light was blaring. All of his emotions ran around his headquarters in panic. They were yelling at the same time as an alarm sounded. Go, go, go! And thus, the mighty formation of Boner Island.
Wow, that would be like a giant phallus.
Yeah, like a, kind of like the Eye of Sauron.
With like a hand on top?
An eye,
goes up and
an
down.
all-seeing eye.
Oh, ew.
That scans the countryside.
And it's like a fountain?
Yes.
With like
Yes.
stuff coming out
Yeah.
the top.
Sort of
Just all the
stuff.
time.
Gravy?
Oh, actually, no.
Baby gravy.
I'm not hungry anymore.
No.
Just thought I'd let you know.
Just press the disgust button. Ring, ding, ding, ding. And then sadness. Disgust and sadness at the same time. And then went, oh, fear. And then went, oh, now I'm angry that I had to listen to that. Press that as well.
And we've reached the end.
We have reached the end. Yes, here we go. The end of Boner Island.
Joy felt terrific. Riley had made great new friends. She was doing well at school and loved her new hockey team. Things couldn't be... Oh, God damn it. Hockey Island's back. Anyway.
Hockey Island is back with a vengeance.
Things couldn't be better. Joy was confident that she and Sadness, along with the rest of the emotions, would work together to help Riley live a happy life. Things might have gotten turned inside out.
Wink at the camera.
And even upside down and around, but everything was going to be just fine.
The end. Do you think Upside Down and Around might be the the name of the sequel?
I prefer Inside Mom.
Inside Mom.
Or Deep Inside Dad.
What about-
I think those were better.
Inside Mom, Upside Down and Around. Sounds a bit 50 Shades. 50 Shades of Mom. So there we go. I got to ask you. Actually, do you think there would be a sequel? Do you think, like, in all seriousness, I reckon I'd be kind of curious to see, like, how do they show that growing up and that puberty and as you get older, or even, like, as going into adulthood. Are the same emotions there? What changed? What's different? What about living with a partner and their emotions? I think it's a pretty fertile ground.
But I think at the same time it will get more confusing. Like, I think in a way they tried to simplify it. Because, you know, it's joy and sadness at the end. They're making joint memories which kind of represent how complex adults are. They're not just one emotion. I mean, possibly more emotions could come in and they'd all be mixed. And I think it would just be difficult to depict. I think it did take them like 8 years. Don't quote me on that, but it did take them a really long time to finish this film. I'm not sure of the exact reason, but I think for that reason, they're not going to make a sequel because it took them so long to get this one finished and perfected and make sure all the concepts were easy to understand. I would watch it. You know,
no, I think you're right, actually, and I think that some of those more sort of throwaway ideas as well, or what about this or what about that, are kind of explored in the credits through all those little snippets of, well, what about inside this kind of head or this kind of mind, or you know, you get that sort of explosion of brainstorming, and then it's not like those things need to. But then again, you know,
look, I'd watch it. I just think, like, logistically they might not make another one.
No, not when they've got to make Cars 5.
Oh fuck, that was my first swear on this episode.
You said shit before, I'm pretty sure.
I don't consider that a swear word.
I think it was justified, though, if you're going to say that word, that filthy word that you just said when talking about Pixar's Cars. Not a bad.
It's like the worst.
It's
Cars
weird.
2. I'll
Cars
never have
2.
those like hours of my life back.
No.
It was awful. Why
Yeah.
did they make a second one? Why did they make planes? Anyway, I'm getting it.
I think they're making a third one.
They're just trying to sell cars, like actual merchandise.
Yeah.
It's just
Money, baby.
ugh.
Makes the world go round. Did you know that?
Money baby.
The money makes the world go round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant there was a money baby, and I'm like, this is not.
Yeah, a money baby. What about Pixar makes a film called Money Baby?
And the baby like shits out money or something.
What if it starts with a bank robbery?
Okay.
And the bank robbers are like getting cornered by the cops and they don't know what to do, and they see an open window with this sleeping woman in there, and they stash the loot inside her, and the next day she gives birth to a money baby.
Oh, this just went.
And
God.
then they want to get the loot back, but she loves her money baby. And the money baby's crawling over like a construction site and stuff and doing all sorts of things. And the bad guys are like, we gotta get that money baby.
Money baby, stay out.
Yeah, I think we got something here.
What do you mean we? I don't want any part in this.
Are you a producer?
What?
Yeah,
I
you've got
agree to this.
you've got producer credit. Everybody heard us come up with the idea of money baby.
I think it was just you.
You can't take it back. It's on the... We can rewind the
It
tape.
sounds horrible.
Horribly lucrative. So, what was better, the book or the film? I know the answer, but I am required
there's
to.
There's no question. The film was way better.
The film is excellent. Definitely recommend you see the film. In fact, I was going to really stress at the beginning of the podcast that if you haven't seen the film, please watch it before listening to this.
It's a bit late
but
now.
It's a bit late now, so it's just pretend I didn't say anything. Here's a couple little Amazon things. I got a couple here.
I found a good one on Goodreads.
Oh,
Can we
you
start
found
with
one?
that one?
Okay, yeah, you can introduce. Goodreads is the Wild West. You're very brave going in there. Amazon's
Why?
got a few more laws and guidelines.
Oh.
Goodreads is just all sorts of people hang out there. Give me your poor, your wretched, everybody.
This book made me cry because it's so beautiful. I love the movie and I love the book.
A perfect emotional response to a book about emotions.
It's all caps. All
Yeah.
caps. And beautiful is spelled incorrectly.
Yeah. For some
Beautiful.
people, that caps lock button is their joy button. You know, and they're just leaning on it hard whenever they can. Here's some other ideas. My 7-year-old couldn't put this book down. There were some words that were above his reading level, but I liked that this challenged him, yet he was still able to read the book. He's already reading it for the second time. If you like the movie, you'll like the book. So they're addressing this whole thing about the language used,
Why would you read it twice?
the words.
I'm confused.
Well, because he can't put it down.
It's like super glued to his hands.
If you can't put it
You
down,
literally can't. Put
you
it
may as well just start reading it again. I would, wouldn't you? Like if it's just there in front of you,
I think I'd cut my hands off.
you would cut your hands off
Yeah.
rather than read this again.
Yeah.
Okay. What if Cars 2 was stuck to your hands?
Oh, God. Goodbye, hands.
Maybe if we start looking within and honouring our inner space, we will find how connected we are. Maybe then we will feel safe enough to share our own feelings. Maybe understanding our emotitudes and the way they resonate in our lives will help us all live more fulfilled, happy lives. If you love this book, your younger children will enjoy reading about emotitudes.
Where the hell did she get that word?
I don't know, I wanted a review, not a fucking self-help book.
That word's not in the book anyway.
No,
is it?
there's no emotitudes.
That's bizarre. I don't like this person already.
Inside Out, right, Dawn of the Emotitudes. That'd be a good title
That sounds
for it.
pretty cool, but I
Yeah.
don't like that word.
No. It's like when there's that Trump song which has emeritude in it.
What does that mean?
It's like having that American attitude.
Oh.
Like you love freedom,
okay.
you hate foreigners, you love pizza, you hate boring classes at school.
Yep.
I love the book content itself, and I especially love the insert in the middle of a visual representation of the movie in line with the novel. It's a long way to say photo section. I was using this book to present the story in a performance, and the coloured middle insert started falling apart and coming out at the binding, and it was the first day I was using it, so maybe next time a hardback print would be better. Yes, can we please stop making flimsy junior novelizations? These things are built to last. Get them in a premium format, nice bound hardcover. I agree, those couple of pictures in the middle are definitely the best part. I don't know if this person knows though.
Can you just get the photos?
Yeah, but those photos in the middle, they're just like, there's maybe like 8 pictures.
Okay.
You watch the film, you can see 24 of those pictures every single second. That's value.
Oh my god.
Picture says 1,000 words. This movie's about an hour and a half. You do the maths.
I wonder what the performance was.
I am sadness. I am sad. It's probably something like that. It's probably like
How old do you think this person was?
25. And one more. I bought this for my 5-year-old grandson because he loves the movie. It has one full-colour page with several images on the page, front and back, and it is the only illustrated page in this book. It is not a fun book for a child. An adult would have to read the book to the child, and hopefully the child will have a very imaginative mind. very disappointed.
It's not like a picture book. It's a novelization, so
Yeah.
it's a novel.
Yeah. And she can't read, clearly, when
What
she
were they
bought this thing on
expecting?
Amazon. Exactly. It had a description. She couldn't read it. Now she wants, like, she's upset that he has to read it.
And children do have imaginative minds.
Yeah. If no one in the family, and yet that's a whole thing about reading. You use your imagination.
Yeah.
If this whole family is opposed to reading, then why buy books on Amazon? I say, hey, Grandma, that walking stick's for helping you walk, not to put up your bottom. She's very uptight.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You had to explain that. I was about to ask.
I could see it on your face. That's why I beat you to it.
Bit slow on the uptake.
And I was shaking it, and then I looked at the calendar, and I was 8 years old.
I think that's not funny. I didn't get it because it wasn't funny.
Well, let's the audience decide. If you think it was funny, text "looks so funny," and if you think it wasn't funny, text
Put a stick up your butt.
#shakefail to book was better. Still looking at me funny. All right, so that was the show. Easy as that. Look at that.
All done.
I can't believe we only do one of these a week when it's this easy.
Boo, you do multiple podcasts a
I
week.
do. Look.
Luke's a busy man.
I'm driven by a beast.
What? Are you talking about yourself? That's not very nice.
She's not here. So, yes, please, thank you for listening. Listen to all our other shows. By that, I mean FP Cast. We just did a review of Jungle Book, which was a really great film.
I want to see it.
Oh my god, Jungle Book. Loved it. So that was a lot of fun. We talked about all like news and trailers and all sorts of stuff, like about Jared Leto posting used condoms to his
that.
other cast members. We talked about a lot of crazy stuff that happened during the week. You can find out everything we're doing at fruitlesspursuits.com. That will give links to our Facebook page, our discussion group on there where you can talk about the show directly with us. There's links to our Patreon where you can get extra shows like that Book Was Better TV, Dawson's Creek, which was teased earlier. That is a book about a TV show, so even extra stuff being done. And also iTunes rate and review. There have not been many rate and reviews in the last year, really, and that harms us. You are harming me by not rating and reviewing the podcast. So please ensure you do that. And most of all, thank you, Sabrina. Absolute pleasure to have you back here.
Thanks for having me. I've finally recovered from Cars 2.
Yeah, you're back on the back on the. Well, we might be doing another one not too far away.
Yeah.
In the whole scheme of things, the next couple of months.
Check the calendar.
And next week, I believe it will be Tron Legacy with the inimitable Courtney Coulson.
It's a terrible movie.
It's a beautiful movie, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But a bit boring.
Story's not up to much, but it's got some craft.
Yeah.
And another Disney. We're doing a lot of Disney stuff. Disney just rules the world at the moment.
Disney's awesome.
Love Disney. You want to say the thing?
Oh, I forgot.
Catch you.
Catch you on the flips.
Jumanji.